A time to be silent. That was not my father. I would like to thank all of you for coming here. It's very wonderful to see all of your faces. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for letting me and my family know how much my father loved us as we loved him. I want to thank Rabbi London for being so gracious to allow my family to give the eulogies. I explained to her that given that we are related to Jack Gelfond, we are a very expressive family. We are wearing pink today. His grandchildren, my brother's tie my outfit because pink was my dad's favorite color. And he often wore his pink Kangol hat and was recognized for that. I know that each of us speaking today spent a lot of time organizing our thoughts, preparing our words. And when I became nervous that I could not write down every word that I would speak, but that I might just speak some notes, I thought about a story about my father. One night at an out-of-town business meeting, my father and Bruce McIntyre was a manufacturer's representative from the New York metropolitan area for the O.C. Tanner Company. They both had to give a talk the next day. And Bruce, all night long, was working on his notes, editing, writing, rewriting. And he said to my dad, "Aren't you preparing for a talk tonight?" And my father replied, "No." And Bruce said, "Why?" And my dad said, "When I get up there, I'll figure out what to say." In the great American play, Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller, Willie Loman, the main character, wishes so much he could be a great salesman. He deludes himself into thinking he's a $1 million success story. Charismatic, liked by all, with children who love him, admire him, and want to emulate him, and at whose funeral people would come from near and far. My father was the man Willie Loman always wanted to be. And when I went through my years of study of developmental psychology and all sorts of related fields, themes emerged which described the image of a father. Father as disciplinarian, father as distant or unavailable, father as emotionally reserved, these images did not describe my father. Let me explain. When I was 13 years old, I was in love with Barry Manilow. My father agreed that I could attend a concert at Ravinia where Manilow was performing. When we went to buy tickets at Ravinia, my father had not anticipated how long the line would be. We waited for hours. It even started to rain, but we still stayed in line. He had to miss time from work. But while we waited in line, he told me that you will never regret spending too much time with your kids. For our birthdays, he always wrote on our bathroom mirror with soap. And I wrote this, a little story that includes Candy Geltner, and then I saw her here today. Very nice. When we were teenagers and driving our cars around, and if we would pass my father in another car, he would give us the finger. When my parents would visit me in Boston, my father would make reservations at the hotel. At one hotel in Cambridge, the Harvard Hotel, my father learned there was a discount if you were a professor or a visiting lecturer. So my dad told them he was speaking at Harvard Business School. When when they asked what department, he said, economics. I told my father that economists are exceedingly intellectualized people and often aloof. Next time I said, you better tell them you're from the marketing department. While most more conservative fathers would choose to wear a suit and tie to a business meeting, my dad decided instead to streak through the meeting. And on those days that he did wear a tie, he chose designers like Jean Meyer. After work one day, my father pulled into our driveway in Skokie. He started honking the horn. We ran outside to see what was the matter. Then we found him sitting proudly in his proudly earned white Mercedes-Benz sedan. He had opened the sunroof and rolled down all the windows. He was listening to Aretha Franklin music at full blast. He was snapping his fingers and dancing to the music. When my father was in the hospital for his various surgeries, nurses would fight over him to get assigned his case. My mother tells me that one night he convinced all the nurses to sneak into his room at once so that he could kibitz with them. My father cried intensely at his favorite movies, Song of Bernadette, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with Jimmy Stewart. After watching these movies, he would call me in Boston and ask, why am I crying so much? And he wanted my psychological analysis. When he attended my various graduations at Boston College or Harvard University, he would say to me, how are you, my daughter? But it was exactly because I was his daughter that I could do all of those things. And when my father and I got into a fight, we always ended up laughing because we knew how similar we were to each other. As strong a character as my father was, he was even stronger because he showed me his vulnerability. He would call me for medical consultations. He relied on me to explain things in terms he could understand and to offer suggestions to help him feel better. And when he needed me the most, it did not cross my mind whether I would offer everything I could. He was a man who offered everyone the best customer service, who gave the best of himself to everyone he met, a waitress, a person for looking for directions on Michigan Avenue, his nephews, his nieces, even our childhood cat, Freud. In just a few seconds, he won you over. He would always do anything for me, and so I thought to myself, I will do anything for him. Very often throughout my life, my father would say, you're not heavy, you're my daughter. In Boston, when my patients would come to me and explain that the loss of their dad 1 year ago, 2 years ago, or more, is an experience that contributes to their depression or to their stress or to feeling down, I did not take in the magnitude of their comments. It is likely I would not allow myself to do so. But when I think about my own father now, I also have this thought that I say to myself, may I remind you that he also lived. I have been so... I have been so lucky to be the daughter of Jack Gelfond, and I'm really proud of that fact. I realize now not how great my loss is, but rather how fortunate a person I am.